Right now, there is a record being maintained about your driving history in a database that most senior drivers have never heard of. It is not your state DMV file. It is not your insurance record. It is a federal level database that connects your state driving history to your Social Security file and, in some cases, to your USCIS immigration record. It was not created by a new law, it has existed for years, and it is updated automatically, without a letter, without a phone call, without any notification to you. For most drivers, this database is invisible. But for senior drivers, especially those over the age of 70, and for immigrant seniors holding a green card or any non-immigrant visa, this record can be accessed during a license renewal, during a benefit review, or during an immigration case evaluation. And the small driving mistake we are going to cover today, something that most senior drivers do not even realize they have done, is one of the most common triggers for a flag in that record. Immigration attorneys and elder law specialists charge $350 per consultation to review exactly this kind of cross-system exposure. You are getting that same review right now. And there is one connection between a senior's driving record and their Medicare eligibility review that almost nobody covers, and we will reach it before this video ends. I am David, and I went through the official USCIS policy manual, the SSA guidelines on functional capacity, and the Federal Driver Privacy Protection Act documentation to prepare this. Everything here comes directly from uscis.gov, ssa.gov, and official federal transportation policy, not community forums, not secondhand advice. Before we go through this completely, USCIS and SSA do not send personal notifications when a cross-agency data sharing update affects how your records are evaluated. They update the policy, they post a notice, and they expect you to find it. Subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell, so this reaches you before it affects your license, your benefits, or your immigration case. And join our WhatsApp community linked in the description below. We share confirmed updates the moment they are verified, no rumors, no guesses. One message to the right family group tonight could protect an elderly parent or grandparent who has no one helping them navigate this. Now let me show you exactly what we found. Here is what is confirmed under current federal law and USCIS policy. A traffic citation issued to a senior driver, meaning a moving violation resulting in a fine, is a civil matter handled at the state level. Under INA Section 101 and USCIS Policy Manual Volume 12, Part F, a single civil traffic infraction does not constitute a criminal offense and does not by itself affect a green card holder's admissibility or deportability. That protection is real, and it applies to senior green card holders, visa holders, and naturalized citizens equally. Here is what is being shared in immigrant senior communities on social media and in family WhatsApp groups that is not accurate. That any driving incident involving a senior, including a minor fender contact in a parking lot, a failure to signal, or a citation for driving below the minimum highway speed, is automatically reported to USCIS and can trigger deportation proceedings. That is false. But here is what is true, and what makes this conversation necessary. A pattern of driving incidents, when combined with a senior's age and specific visa or benefit status, can trigger a functional capacity review through SSA. And that review connects to something most families never anticipate. We are going to make sure you know exactly what the line is and how to stay on the right side of it. The first thing the official documentation confirms is what actually creates a record that moves between systems. And it is not the traffic ticket itself. Under the Driver Privacy Protection Act of 1994 and its amendments, state motor vehicle records are protected from general disclosure. However, federal agencies, including SSA and DHS, have authorized access to state DMV records under specific conditions. The condition that matters for senior drivers is this: when a state DMV initiates a mandatory medical review of a senior driver's license, which most states trigger after a certain age or after a reported incident, that review creates a record that is accessible to SSA when evaluating the senior's functional status for benefit purposes. The small driving mistake that most commonly triggers a mandatory medical review is not a speeding ticket. It is a failure to complete a required senior driver renewal evaluation. In most states, drivers over the age of 70 are required to renew their license in person rather than online or by mail, and some states require a vision test or a road skills evaluation at renewal. Missing that evaluation, or completing it and receiving a conditional license, is the event that creates the cross-system record. Say exactly this when you accompany a senior family member to a DMV license renewal appointment. We are here to complete the full in-person renewal process. Please confirm what is required for this age group. Nothing more. That statement ensures the DMV agent walks through every current requirement, including any medical forms or vision certifications, so nothing is missed. Never assume that because a senior renewed their license successfully 2 years ago, the same process applies today. Under most state DMV regulations, renewal requirements for senior drivers are reviewed on a rolling basis and can change between renewal cycles without direct notification to the driver. Assuming continuity and missing a new requirement creates the same record as failing the evaluation entirely. This applies to all senior drivers regardless of immigration status: citizens, green card holders, H-1B holders over 65, and seniors on dependent visa categories. The DMV renewal process does not distinguish by immigration status, but the downstream consequences of a flagged renewal record differ significantly by status, which brings us to the second point. The second point is where most immigrant families have been given wrong information, and it involves what happens after a senior receives a conditional or restricted license. Per USCIS Policy Manual, Volume 12, Part F, Chapter 5, Good moral character determinations for green card renewals and naturalization applications include a review of whether the applicant has complied with all applicable laws. A conditional driving license issued when a senior passes the vision test but fails the road skills evaluation, or when a physician files a medical concern report with the DMV, does not constitute a legal violation. Driving on a conditional license within its stated restrictions is fully legal. However, driving outside those restrictions, for example, driving at night when the conditional license prohibits nighttime driving, is a traffic violation that in many states is classified as a misdemeanor, not a civil infraction. Consider a senior green card holder who received a conditional license restricting highway driving. A family member needed to be picked up from an airport. The only practical route involved a short highway segment. The senior drove the highway, was stopped during a routine traffic enforcement check, and the officer noted the license restriction violation. Under the laws of that state, the violation was charged as a misdemeanor. When the senior applied for naturalization 8 months later, the USCIS officer reviewing the application flagged the misdemeanor under the Good Moral Character Review. The application was not denied, but a request for evidence was issued, adding 5 months to the process. The correct response would have been to arrange alternative transportation for that one trip. That single decision changed the naturalization timeline. Immigration attorneys charge $300 to $400 per hour for exactly this kind of pre-application review. This is the same analysis. Third, and this connects directly to the hidden element I mentioned at the beginning. The third point involves the driving record notation that most senior families never see and never think to check. When a state DMV physician review board receives a medical concern report about a senior driver, whether from a treating physician, a family member, or a law enforcement officer, they place a notation in the driver's state record. In most states, this notation is not communicated directly to the driver or their family. It sits in the DMV file. It is reviewed at the next renewal. And in states that participate in the Federal Driver License Compact, it is shared with every other state where the senior has ever held a license. This notation is also accessible to SSA in the context of a functional capacity review, which SSA may initiate independently if a senior's benefit file contains indicators of a reported medical event. If the DMV notation and an SSA medical review are open at the same time, the combination can trigger a formal review of the senior's SSI or SSDI payment status. Most families find out about this notation only when the license is suspended at the next renewal, or when an SSA letter arrives requesting a medical review. And fourth, this is the specific detail that most coverage never reaches. A senior immigrant who loses driving privileges through license suspension or a decision not to renew may qualify for a medical transportation benefit under Medicare Advantage plans that covers non-emergency medical transportation. This benefit exists. Most families do not know to look for it, and the application process for this benefit requires documentation that is easier to assemble before the license situation becomes a dispute than after. Per CMS Medicare Advantage guidelines, non-emergency medical transportation is a supplemental benefit available through many Medicare Advantage plans, not original Medicare, and the enrollment window to access it is limited to specific periods during the year. Now, here's the connection that almost no coverage reaches, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning. A senior's driving record does not just affect their license, it connects directly to their Medicare eligibility review because of how SSA uses functional capacity assessments. Here's the mechanism in plain terms. When SSA initiates a continuing disability review for a senior receiving SSDI or SSI, which occurs periodically for all recipients, they request updated medical records. If the senior's physician has filed a medical concern report with the DMV during the same period, that report may appear in the record's SSA requests. A physician report that cites cognitive concerns, vision impairment, or reaction time issues in the context of driving is the same report that SSA evaluates for functional capacity in the context of benefit continuation. In real terms, for a senior in your family, a physician report filed with the DMV because of a minor driving incident could contribute to an SSA finding that the senior's functional capacity has changed, which can affect the monthly benefit amount or trigger an additional review period. Most families never find out about this connection until they receive an SSA letter requesting an updated medical evaluation, months after the original DMV report was filed. Checking the senior's DMV record and understanding what notations exist there before an SSA review is triggered is the step that protects both the license and the benefit at the same time. Here is your exact plan. Write this down or save this video. Step 1. Contact your senior family member's state DMV, either online or by calling directly, and request a copy of their full driving record. In most states, this costs between $5 and $15 and can be requested by the driver or a designated family member with written consent. Look specifically for any notation marked medical review, physician report, or conditional status. Step 2. If a medical review notation exists, contact the senior's treating physician and ask directly, has any report been filed with the DMV regarding this patient's driving ability? Physicians are required to tell their patients if a report was filed. Step 3. If the senior's license is due for renewal within the next 12 months, find out now whether your state requires an in-person renewal, a vision test, or a road skills evaluation for drivers in the senior's age group. Do not wait for the renewal notice. Contact the DMV directly. Step 4. If the senior holds a green card or any non-immigrant visa and a conditional license or license suspension has occurred, say exactly this to a qualified immigration attorney before the next renewal or application. I need to understand how a conditional license notation affects the good moral character review in my current case. Do not add anything else. Let the attorney advise based on the full facts. Step 5. Share this video with one family in your community who has an elderly parent or grandparent still driving. Send it to their phone directly tonight. This information does not reach most families until after the record has already been created. Official resources: USCIS.gov 1-800-375-5283 SSA, SSA.gov 1-800-772-1213, Medicare Advantage Transportation, Benefit Medicare.gov Immigration, Legal Aid, Immigration Advocates.org, Free Immigration Help, NILC.org, Benefits, Eligibility, Benefits.gov. 2 warnings before we finish. First, immigration scams. There are consultants charging senior immigrant families to clear DMV records or to file letters with USCIS explaining a driving incident. Neither of these services exists as a legitimate offering. DMV records are maintained by state agencies and are not clearable by a third-party consultant. USCIS does not accept unsolicited explanatory letters outside of a pending application. Only work with attorneys licensed by a state bar or BIA accredited representatives. Verify any representative at justice.gov before paying anything. Second, benefits scams. If anyone contacts your senior family member by phone, text, or in person and claims that their Medicare or Social Security payment is being suspended because of a driving record or license issue, that is a scam. SSA does not suspend benefits based on DMV records by phone. Real SSA communication always comes by mail. Call 1-800-772-13 directly to verify anything before your family member takes any action. I want to hear from you directly. Which country are you originally from? And are you helping an elderly parent or grandparent manage their license renewal or driving situation right now? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and your questions shape the next video. What we covered today is documented, confirmed, and already affecting senior drivers and their families across this country. USCIS and SSA will not send your family a personal explanation when a cross-agency evaluation affects your senior's record. This channel will. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the WhatsApp community in the description so urgent updates reach you directly. I am David. You have rights in this country. You have benefits you have earned. Knowing both protects everything. Take care of yourself.